Hi there, it's Stu from StuTech with yet again another Work It Wednesday. So I want to welcome y'all back to Work It Wednesday. It's been a little while since I've done these. Things have been a little hectic, a little crazy, but I'm happy to say that we are getting them back. Today's guest is a really great guy, a good friend of mine, as well as a StuTech client. His name is Nick Morrison. His company is Potere Search. They are an executive search firm. They help businesses grow from like 50 million to up to like 500 million and above. So I could sit here and talk to you about how great Nick is, how great Potere Search is, but you know what? Let's just get to the interview. And here we go. Hey, Nick, thank you so much for being part of Work It Wednesday. For those who are watching, this is actually the second time we had to shoot this because the first time the camera was pointed wrong. So now I'm going to start doing stuff via Teams because it kind of gives everybody the opportunity to actually be seen, and we can do them quicker and more often. So Nick, let me just ask you, just kind of introduce yourself and introduce your company, what you guys do, who you serve, things along those lines.
Yeah, we scale businesses from 50 to 500 million. All sorts of different industries, primarily based here in Phoenix, and then we've got some national expansion that's going on, and that's where I spend a lot of my time. Outside of that, I've got some young kids that I spend a lot of time with, and I play golf every small amount every once in a while after that.
Yeah. Tell us about your business. Let's get the name of it pronounced correctly.
Yeah, Potere Search is the name that we pronounce it. Yeah.
And you are a search firm. You do executive recruiting. Is that the way you would describe it?
That's right. Yeah. So we represent the fastest growing companies, and we hire all of their most critical positions along the way. And so sometimes it's building a legal department, sometimes it's building an accounting department, sometimes it's building a sales department, sometimes it's your C-suite, sometimes it's all of the above. But the one common theme is that they've got a goal, they've got a mission in mind, a place that they want to go, and they need the best people in order to execute it. And so everything that we do is with that goal in mind, and it's the highest likelihood in order to accomplish it. And it's really fun to work in a lot of different industries and to see that kind of growth.
Great. So we've known each other a long time. I think it's a long time, a good amount of time anyway. So what actually inspired you to start Potere Search?
Probably like a lot of entrepreneurs, I thought I could do it better. Right. I didn't think that it was done right, and I could do it better, and I just did it. But I worked in 3 other recruiting firms over the course of, I think, about 7 or 8 years. In a lot of different capacities, working in a lot of different companies, everything from like Fortune 500 companies to small startups, and positions from CEOs and presidents to part-time roles and everything in between. And it really was an intention. I figured, like, if you were going to get great at anything, you should probably know as much as possible about it. And I wanted to get really great at recruiting. And so I figured, working in some different firms to learn different styles and learn different types of recruiting was, probably the best way to do it. And maybe I would start my own firm eventually, or maybe do something on my own eventually. And after about 7 or 8 years, that happened, and here we are. But it took a little while to land on scale ups as well. Probably due to, like, the work that I had done was so diverse, a lot of different types of positions, a lot of different companies. When we started this firm, we really did explore all of those, or a lot of them anyways, and really kind of took a few years to land on scale ups. But I'm glad that we did.
That's great. So the last time we spoke, and I'm going to bring this up, you're passionate about a couple nonprofits. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the nonprofits you're really passionate about and what they do, because I believe that every business owner has to have a cause, right? I have my cause in StuTech, and there's some charities that I do work for at no cost, right? But I also know that you're on the board of a nonprofit. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's called The Worker. That's the name. And I got involved shortly after I launched this business because I was looking for specifically nonprofit organizations that were on the same mission that I was, that served a different population. And so a friend of mine, maybe serendipitously, maybe I had told them that I was looking for this, but they gave me a call, and at the time it was called St. Joseph the Worker. And so they gave me a call and they were like, hey, I just met this organization, St. Joseph the Worker. It's awesome. You got to go and check it out. And I'm like, great. And so I went down there, and it was totally true. It's all about getting people on their own 2 feet. And we really believe that the best way to self-sufficiency is through a job. And so it all got created, I think, and it really got created that way. And so it got created out of the Andre House. There were some people that were volunteering there, and some people were coming through the line and talking to volunteers, and they were like, hey, I love the food. Thank you so much. I appreciate you feeding me today, but I really want the ability to feed myself. I want to go buy my own food. Can I have a job? And the guys in line were like, oh yeah, I know people that are hiring. Like I know companies. Like, yeah, absolutely, I'll get you a job. And so I really love that it's we're on the same mission at Potere Search. It's a matter of empowering people in their dream jobs and getting them into jobs that is going to, impact their entire life. And we happen to work with scale-ups that works really well with, right? These companies that are on a great mission and a big trajectory. And so I absolutely love the work that the worker does, because they're on the same mission, helping people get onto their own 2 feet, getting them into jobs that changes their entire lives. And it probably supplements their business really well. Like, some of our clients use them also for some of their staffing, because that's what they do. They, connecting people to jobs and the right ones. And so it's been incredible. I think I've, between being a volunteer and being a board of director for about 7 years now.
That's fantastic. That's great work. I might actually have something for them based on a conversation I had today. Awesome. That's really good work. And I think that we're fortunate enough to be, I wouldn't call it successful, but employed business owners. And so to give back to those who are struggling, especially in the society that we live in today, it's really great work. So I have these canned questions, right? And so, again, I know you, but my subscribers don't. So if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about the business you're in right now, the journey you've had, what would that one piece of advice be?
It's going to be okay.
Yeah. I think really that's everything for life, actually.
Yeah, it's totally, that applies to a lot of, but early on in the business, I worried about a lot of things. Like worried about everything, even to the point where like I was opening up the Bloomberg terminal like 3 or 4 times a day to see where the stock market was at. Like that was going to have some sort of effect on my business. And so I just worried about a lot of things. And I even had people at the time give me the advice. They were like, why are you worried? I was worried about a lot of different things that didn't necessarily matter. Not that they didn't matter, but, generating revenue and growing a business and proving the business model was the most important thing at the time. And so it's all going to be okay. I think that's probably the biggest one. The second one that really has kind of led to our success today is finding a niche. It took us several years to find a niche. We were doing like everything for everybody in the early years. And once we figured out that we wanted to focus on recruiting for these scale-ups, everything changed for us, and it's taken a couple of years to like really ingrain that in the community, but that's who we're seeing as today. And then really finding the focus and beating that drum of like, this is what we do, and improving that. Now we've helped a lot of companies get to 500 million and beyond. So we've got case studies in different areas, and we've proven our results. But it took a while. So and I don't know, like I'm okay with it. I'm not upset that it took us a few years to find the niche, but certainly finding the niche as soon as possible changed a lot for us.
Absolutely. So I'm going to throw another question in here that you're not prepared for, but what are you reading these days? I look at your office and I see all your books, and I just had the privilege to hear Don Yeager speak at an event a couple weeks ago, and I've heard him a few times, and I've got a couple of his books on my shelf. But he's got this new book out, and what about creating momentum, and he talks about the spark, right? The spark that leads to momentum. And Don Yeager has been in Sports Illustrated, things like that, for years, but what are you reading these days, and why?
Yeah, I'm reading a few different books, as I do, and I'm in no sort of hurry. But I'm reading The Talent Fix by Tim Sackett. I listened to him speak at a SHRM conference earlier this year, and he is one of the few people that I've heard speak that really talks about proactive recruiting and implementing some technology to do that. So I'm reading his book, The Talent Fix. That one's really good. I just finished up this program. It's called the Autonomy Course. It was like a year-long program, and there were a few books that we read through that course. A lot of them were about trust, like building trust and envisioning. So that was a few of those books. And then I've got How Leaders Learn by David Novak. David Novak's like one of my favorite leadership people to follow and to learn from. The book's been published a while now, so I'm kind of embarrassed I haven't finished it, but How Leaders Learn by David Novak. That's another one that I'm reading.
Yeah, there's so many books that I've read throughout my career, right? And sometimes you got to reread them because you get something else different out of it. Like my first boss had me read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie, right? I must have read that book probably 1,000 times by now. And every time I read it, I still get something new out of it.
No way. Yeah.
All right. So what's the weirdest, funniest, or most unexpected thing that's ever happened in your business? And it could be even in your career as a recruiter.
Yeah, the most unexpected thing in my business were companies refusing to pay our invoice. We've just had a few companies that and I'd never experienced that before. Like we did our agreements, and then came time to pay and it just never happened. And so I just never experienced that before. That was unique to me. And the first time I did not handle it well. I think it's only happened twice, and it hasn't happened in like at least 5 years. Those were in some of the earlier years, but the first time I didn't handle it well, and the second time I handled it well, and it just hasn't happened a third time. So, knock on wood, that's good. But some other unexpected things, like we get a lot of. There was one, I remember, a candidate that I met, and he was dressed really nicely, like suit, pressed, everything was great. And we ended up meeting. The coffee shop that we were going to meet at was closed, and so we ended up like sitting outside of this coffee shop on the corner, and like his whole shirt was tucked up. So he's in this like nice suit jacket, but it somehow gotten wrinkled and it was like flipped up as his shirt was as well. And that's what I specifically remember him. And I remember telling him like 2 or 3 times, I'm like, hey, your shirt is. You might want to fix it. Also, the second funny part that I remember about that is I was incredibly dehydrated. I had like 4 or 5 coffee meetings that day, and like no food. And so I'm telling this guy 2 things. I'm like, hey, you need to fix your collar, and also I'm going to pass out. I need to go and eat. And so I got to go, but just wasn't interested in listening. And I think I might have almost like semi walked away. That was funny, but we get into a lot of different businesses. That's maybe the interesting part about today that was kind of unexpected for me, is working in all different industries. We've got clients that do everything from nuclear energy production to kitty litter. We work in home services. We've got pest control clients. We've got companies that do professional services like commercial cleaning. We've got companies that do distribution, manufacturing, like all sorts of different. And I think that's what I'm continually surprised about, is like how many good businesses there are out there that do all sorts of different things that, you wouldn't even expect that are business. But yeah, there's somebody out there that's gotten it to 50 or 100 million and they want to scale it up. So I think that's the part that's really interesting today, is all the different businesses, all the different industries.
Yeah, we run across a lot of really fun, and some of these businesses are fun. They're just things you wouldn't hear of, right? There's pest control, there's recruiting, there's IT, but you come across, I love nonprofits, right? That's just a personal thing for me, and you just see what people are doing to change the world one little bit at a time. Today, I'm working with a client right now, and I had no idea what they do. Okay, so we're putting their warehouse together out in South Phoenix, and I got my cabling guys over there and whatnot, and I finally said, "What do you guys do?" And they actually distribute steel. Who'd have thunk it, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Huge company, right? So anyway, that's great. So we've had this actual question I'm going to ask you. We've had this conversation so many times as networking and working together. But if somebody was starting or trying to grow their business today, okay, because the market's a little different than it was even yesterday or a month ago or a year ago or 6 months ago or whatever it happens to be. What's a piece of advice you give a fresh entrepreneur starting the business or growing their business, and really how to live their life with a little bit more confidence? Because as well as I do, getting that business off the ground. Starting a business is easy, running it's hard. So what's the piece of advice you'd give someone trying to grow their business and how to navigate their life with a little bit more confidence?
I think if you could find something that you truly love that has incredible value to the marketplace, that's the beautiful intersection. And so, because times get tough, and even if it's not tough, you still want to enjoy it. So it's got to be something that you enjoy or feel passionate about. And then also it's got to have value to the marketplace. We're in a very performance-driven environment today. Like there's companies that are investing, there's equity firms that are investing, there's cash that's available out there. There's customers that are buying, there's people that are, companies and people that are consuming, but there's got to have real value to it. And so we're very performance-driven. So if you're going to start a business, it's got to have real value, like generating profit in addition to revenue, that whole thing. And then also times are hard, so you got to enjoy it. It's something that's got to be meaningful. Probably what I struggle with, as well as a lot of people, is like overworking or putting in too many hours, that sort of a thing, and then sacrificing some other areas of life. And so if you can also find good balance, that's an incredible thing. But I think most importantly, finding something that you enjoy, because the days and the nights, they get hard, running a business or trying to figure out solutions or problems. And I've seen a ton of people, create businesses and then quit them because they didn't really care about them. Maybe there was a great market fit or they can even make some money, but didn't really care about them. So when the, times got tough, they sort of quit on them or sold them or did something else. And so if you really care about it though, people are smart. They'll figure out a way in order to make it work.
I'm going to add one thing to that where you said you're working too many hours. I'm going to add on to that. Make sure you get some rest. As a business owner, make sure you get some rest because hell, you need it. Trust me, dealing with overworking myself right now and not sleeping enough. So, all right. My last question for you, my friend, and it's going to be a two-parter because you filled out this one last time and then you gave me a new answer this time. So I always ask people, come up with a question people don't ask you. And so the business one is, let me start with the fun one. How's your golf game?
Pretty bad.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right now.
Yeah, the weather's cooling down, so we'll get out and go play.
Exactly. I've got a lot of rounds planned this fall and in this winter, so it's trending in a better direction. But I would still take a putting contest any day. You can still putt pretty well.
See, I'm more of I can hit it really well off the tee box. My short game needs a lot of work. But anyway, so the serious question is, how do you actually find the best person?
Yeah, we've got a systematic process, and we've got a whole team of people as well as technology that drive it. And so we've got an internal database. I forget exactly how many tens of thousands of people that are in there today, but active top talent. And so we've got that. And then we use paid databases like LinkedIn and ZoomInfo and Indeed. And we also have, some of our own AI agents and some of our own technology that goes out and finds, people. But we use all means necessary in order to find everybody. And so sometimes, for some industries, they're on association websites, or for sometimes we target specific companies. But we've got a 10-step process that goes to like every nook and cranny of the world to find everybody that's qualified.
Well, that's fantastic. All right, we got a couple of minutes left. Anything that you'd like to add, including how people can get a hold of you, learn more about Potere Search, anything that you would like to add? Because I could talk about you as my friend forever.
Thanks. Depending on when this is getting published, but hiring is very cyclical, depending on kind of the types of positions that you're looking at. But now is a really, really good time. So if you're looking for a job or you're hiring, now is a good time to do it. This sort of window in between the summer months when people are traveling and then the winter months when people are focused on holidays, there's this kind of beautiful window in here where if you're hiring, people are willing to take interviews. They're available and you move the process forward. And then also if you're looking for a job, companies are hiring. So this is a good window in order to go and hire. In order to connect with me, probably the best way to do that is on LinkedIn. I'm just, LinkedIn at Potere Nick. And then you can go to our website as well. It's poteresearch.com. We've got all sorts of like blogs and content on there that's got great education. So if you want to know more about like hiring and how to find the best people, how to scale your company, there's some good information on there as well.
Okay. I'll make sure your LinkedIn and a link to your website is in the description of this, as well as it'll be on the screen. You can probably see it right now. Nick, thank you so much, my friend, for taking time yet again to do Work It Wednesday. All the best for your future. I love working with you on a daily basis. Yes, Potere Search is a StuTech client, and I'm not just, inviting him because he is a client, but he's been a friend of mine for a long time. You're doing great work for the world, both in your for-profit business and the nonprofit business. So thank you for everything you do for our community here in Phoenix, Arizona, and through all your clients.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Stu. It was great being on the show, and always loving having you watching over us and making sure that we're safe.
I'm taking care of it. All right, my friend. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for watching.